There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the World Sprint Championship here with GRDC. My name has been Sapsford, aka Sappytron. I will be your guide through tonight's racing. Now, immediately, you do notice there is a hole next to me. Unfortunately, no Eero tonight. He's not 100%, so he's not going to be joining us. Hope he is feeling better, of course, as soon as he can, because I do miss him here in the commentary box already. Anyway, we are going to be jumping trackside with Monza tonight. You've seen the title of the stream, but before we do anything, we need to talk about the winners of the previous round. So first off, coming through from Bahrain in the hypercars, after a couple of stewarding moments, we have Gianluca Bellucci along with Mika Patush and Federico Pocosi in first, second and third. So congratulations to them. Well done on a well-earned podium. We do have a couple of bits to discuss, and we'll go through that during qualifying in terms of the wider championship, different race dynamics, and how that's going to be playing out. We'll also have a look quickly at the LMGT3 podium from Bahrain. It's going to go to none other than Timi Latonen. A well-driven race with Robert Poor and Jordan Forte in second and third alongside. So if you want to feature yourself on these podiums, of course, drive clean, drive fast. But well done to all these drivers thus far, and they will be having a healthy dosage of points as we go through the rest of this championship. Main thing is that we have much to discuss in terms of stewarding. We have much to discuss in terms of the races. We are going to go trackside in just a moment because we will be catching the final few minutes of live practice. But you know it well, it's Monza, the Temple of Speed, 11 corners, and I believe 5.8 kilometers. So first opened in 1922, and it's a track of the ages. It's gone through many iterations over the years into the form we now know it today. And we will be going, in fact, now to see what these racers are up to, as practice is now coming to an end, and we will be having the final couple of minutes now. So we are just on board with Gianluca Bellucci, of course, winner from last round in the hypercars. And we will have quite a roster. We currently have 29 players in the lobby, meaning 14 hypercars and 13 LMGT3s. So I'm looking forward to seeing qualifying in particular around this track. How aggressive these cars are going to be running their aero, because you've got to, of course, find that balance between aerodynamic drag and enough grip to power you through those aerodynamically loaded corners. Places like Curva Grande, Parabolica, Lesmos 1 and 2, you still need a good amount of wing angle, attack angle, be able to get that thing gripped up and get it moving. It's worth mentioning as well, folks, we'll talk a little bit about stewarding in depth later, but we have a few drivers who they jump in around the boards coming out from last time. So we had a few penalties being handed out, and we are in fact missing. You might be noticing that there is no Ferdinand Kerner. That is because he's serving a race ban from some of the incidents he was involved in last race, as well as a couple drivers being dotted up and down the boards for various excursions. And in particular, we did see a little bit of wobbliness in terms of the hypercars and leaving the space for the LMGT3s. Now, they come into the approaches of corners at very different speeds, but their braking distance is roughly the same, especially as the hypercars slow down. Their advantage is going to be in the higher speed corners, and it's going to be in the, well, in the attack of the higher speed sections in general. So take your overtakes on the slower traffic out of the exits. Heading into corners, particularly on the apex, generally a no-go for the LMH cars. But here we are. Practice is now coming to an end, folks. And with the 29 drivers on the field, we are seeing the last few just lap around the course. Like, we're on board with Alistair Ramsey, currently in the Vantage. It's one of the last on field alongside Marvin Butson in the 499P. Oh, not sure what's happened there. Forgive us, folks. A little bit of a moment there, but let's take a quick look just to get a bit of an idea on some practice times. So, times out the board, Bellucci 35.128, and then Perron, Bouquet, Patouche. You see, within a few tenths of a second. We'll look to the second page, get a bit of an idea on our LMGT3s, and you can see Robert Poor 14.7 seconds slower. So I believe that is going to be about a 1 minute 50 or a low 149. Whether that's the time to beat yet, of course, find out. But we will soon have qualifying officially getting underway, and it's time to see the swathe of cars now making their way out. Qualifying is getting underway here, and everyone's going to be jumping on their outlaps as soon as they can. We're on board right now with the Cadillac. That's Henrik de Vries. That's in the V Series R. Beautiful machine. That is a racing weapon right there. Not to be outdone, though, is the SC63 of Grassi now coming out of the pits. Nathan Perron in the Ferrari 499P hypercar. Also going to be making an appearance. Other cars, other chassis on the track. We have the second V Series R. We have the Porsche making its way. It's going to be down, heading its way into Ascari in just a moment. Just sweeping its way through. So that's a beautiful thing. So Porsche 963 hypercar. Beautiful. We do also have the LMGT3s. Unfortunately, we won't get the picture-in-picture because we don't have Eero here. That is an unfortunate loss. We also have the Alpine A524 of Remy Alexander Borgso. Currently out on course. But here goes Henrik de Vries. He's going to be starting his lap, and he's going to be one that we are jumping on board with. So let's get things going here. Here's de Vries directly in pilot's view. Already up to 200 kilometers an hour. He makes his way through Curva Grande. You can see pushing that car to the absolute limit. That's 280, 290, and then just before the major braking zone, almost hitting 300 Ks. Nicely done. It's through Lesmo 1. Now you get a little bit of brakes down into third gear. Ride that inner line before peeling out onto the curbs. Straighten yourself back up again. Get back down into, this time, fourth gear. So leaving it low in the rev range to power out of Lesmo 2. Now onto the bridge. A little bit of an incline. You can use that to tee up some overtakes on your competition. You go into seventh gear briefly. 301. And then a bit of a wobble into Ascari. But still keeps the composure despite sausage curbs. Looking good, particularly on the second sector, but sector 3 had a little bit of a wobble. And as the infamous Parabolica, it's known for sacrificing many a lap. Even the slightest extension of track limits can get you in a lot of trouble, but de Vries keeps it neat and tidy into the inside line. And it is going to be a 35.840 here. So nicely done for de Vries, as many more cars in the hypercar division are making their way through. Bellucci's got a 35.2, 45.0 going to Richard Cook. Bit of a mistake. Perron 35.9. Checking in with our LMGT3s. Here's Robert Poor coming up to the line now. And it is going to be a quick runner heading into the final corner. It's looking nice and fast here, as he's got a 49.990. Now, are we going to see much of a challenge from the other LMGT3s? It's going to be Jordan Forte, was podium sitter in the last one. Alistair Ramsey, 50.5. 51's coming through from the rest of the field. Here is Forte coming down out of Lesmo 2, under the bridge and into Ascari. Okay, the M4. I would say it's grown on me. It really has grown on me in terms of visual style. I cannot lie. I was initially a bit of an opponent to the taller grills. But having seen it in action enough now, it's one of those changes I was initially skeptical of, but it's actually grown on me quite a bit. Now coming up to the line here goes Forte into 11th here. That's going to be second place for the GT3s, 50.4. It's still half a second behind Robert Poor in the Ferrari, but it's a mighty rapid time nonetheless. Most of the hypercars have also set their own times as ranging in the 135s. The lowest you've got is Richard Cook with a 45.0, but I doubt he's going to let that one slide, as he's now going to be wrangling that 963 by the looks of things through another attempt on the course. Just had a quick jump through. It's going to be Grossi just coming up to the line. 0.153 is going to be a mere 24 milliseconds away from Schlitting's time, who is currently the driver to beat in the 499P. A couple of cars actually left yet to set a time here. So we've got Moffat just coming up to the boards here. Poor is going to be his target, and a 50.471 is going to slingshot him into second place for the LMGT3s. Last runners, Timi Lehtonen just starting a lap here and keeping it nice and composed into the first corner, along with Reda Ulial. I'm going to keep butchering that name. My apologies, folks. But Reda is in the number 92 Porsche and is just making his way out through the Ascari chicane. Let's see what time he can put down. Let's see what he can do. See, down the back straight for that deceptive right-hander. Making his way. Looking like a good sweep. And a 53.2. So not quite the time that he needed here, but still a strong time. It's going to be another 963. This time it's going to be belonging to the Hertz 963 of Matteo Baldanini. Looking somewhat slow on their sectors. Let's see if they can get an improvement out of this one. 38.009. Just a 37 could do it, but unfortunately not. It's a 40.5. I think this is the setup lap here, as other cars are now pushing to try and make up some time for themselves. Unfortunately, we don't really have live deltas and timing of that nature. Otherwise, we'd be jumping around a lot more efficiently. And we don't have the dual cam to be able to track simultaneously. But we'll still be trying to give the best perspective that we can. So here it comes through Ascari. Once again is Jordan Forte. A lot of the top runners have headed into the pits and are now only just coming back out for their outlaps. Nice, smooth motions. Nice, smooth sweep. And through into the pits. Forte gets a 50.354 for that one. But will be, of course, needing more time. Here comes Craig Starkey in the McLaren. Also, the big cheese himself. But it looks like he's going to be abandoning on this lap, and he's going to RTP. So we're now looking to get a bit more time down here and say another abandon. We've only got 5 minutes left in qualifying here, folks, so this will be a bit of a time crunch, although it's looking somewhat grey out in the sky. Not looking like we're going to see those track temperatures work that well. Kind of struggling to perceive how the cars are doing in terms of grip. With the overcast skies, there's a bit of a hanging question mark about track temps and whether we might see a variation in weather. So sweeping a little bit further out. And then back in again, Moffat, 0.471. Is there going to be improvement? It's a 0.402. Not enough per position, but it's enough to make time. And honestly, that is what's needed just as much. We're going to check around a couple of other cars. Here's Philip Schlitting, and making his way out and through the Lesmos before coming to the end of Sector 2. Is it an improvement on his previous? Coming down under the bridge. Looking like he's keeping good form in that Ferrari. Now through the Ascari chicane. Just got to keep the rear planted. That's half the job here at Monza. Keep the rear planted. A little bit of a sweep back and forth. Shooting through Parabolica. See how hot those front brakes are. How much he's really working them right now. But then down up to the line, 35.125, and I believe that wasn't a valid lap. That's why the timing stopped out of nowhere. But we have Mika Patush as well as Matthew Bouquet in the GR010, or the GR010. That's the Toyota on the course. Okay, with the 34.548, so a whole half a tenth, or half a second, sorry, away from Alessandro Grossi, who is in third. Just as a point of reference there, folks, that is an immense gap. Nice helicopter shot there. Doesn't really capture the noise of some of these cars. Your variations in setups. But even like running it quite low, it looks like no improvement here from Bouquet. He runs it quite low to the ground. You see the sparks flying. You're going to see that a lot here in Monza, by the way, folks. Just something to get used to here. You will see those sparks fly a lot. Look how those rear brakes as well are lighting up quite hot. I wonder how Bouquet's got his brake balance. So that will affect your car's stability on turn-in. Here comes Patush, 34.793. Looks like he might have a purple on his hands. He's got purple Sector 1, fastest of the track. Just needs to connect this one up. Through Lesmo 1. Looking clean. There is going to be a nice lead through. Patush. Oh no, he's lost a bit of time in Sector 2, but can he link it back up together? A bit of a wobble out the apex of the Ascari chicane. Looks like he's going to be yielding. This is not going to be the run. He's going to set himself up for the next one. Coming out Parabolica now. Here comes Bouquet. 34.548. Fastest first sector. Can this be a new record time? Unfortunately not. I think just pushed it a bit too hard in Sector 2. And got that invalidation there. Here comes Butson now. 35.1. Break into the 34s will guarantee him a second row spot right now. Even just a 34.9 could potentially put him in the podium for the qualifying session. Final few seconds, 35.098 coming in from Marvin Butson. And then on the LM GT3 side, we've got the last couple of cars as the checker flag has fallen on the quali session. Many are deciding enough is enough and have already gone into the pits. Here comes a few more cars now. This is last chance. Baldinini heading into the pits. Dan Wilson coming up to the final corner. And powering out of Parabolica. Pushing his way down. And that's a 37.2, so no improvement from the V-Series R. Fleeting and Butson both making their way down. Poor Letonen. 49.804 from Robert Poor. Current pole for LMGT3. Can he push it even harder? Looks like he's actually done okay, but this lap is not going to be, don't think, the one. Look and see the timing difference. Letonen has stopped on track, so we'll be returning to pits. We also have Gary Barham, who has abandoned and is heading into the pit lane. Last few cars. 34.479 is the lead time here for Theo Bouquet. And there we go. He's going to be sort of rolling his way down. Marvin Butson is going to commit to his lap, though. 35.09 out. 34.828. So, last second drops himself out of P5 and puts himself neatly into P3. But that leaves Bouquet in the first honours spot for Hypercar. And it puts a neat emphasis on the GT3s with Poor, starting as he means to go on with the session. So first things first, let's talk qualifying. Bouquet with the 34.479 is your undisputed pole position holder heading into tonight's race. Patouche just 3/10 of a second behind. And then you have Butson, Schlichting, Grossi, Bellucci, Perron, Debris, Hostenius, and Cook. So let's actually switch things over to our nice fancy looking starting order. And you can see in full glory as the Toyota lining up alongside the Ferrari and then chasing, well, closely followed by Butson and Schlichting in their own 499Ps. Grossi and Bellucci are going to be the two Lamborghinis on the attack in row 3, with row 4 being comprised of Nathan Perron and Henrik De Vries in the two over there. Row 5 is going to be a Porsche row. It's the 963s of Holstenius and Cook, with row 6 going to Dan Wilson and Paul Garnham in the Cadillac and Toyota, respectively. Row 7 is going to go to Borgso and Baldinini in the A524 and 963, along with row 8 being comprised of the LMGT3s just behind, with Poor and Letonen both in the Ferrari. Moffat is also going to be in the Ferrari, but joining him is the M4 GT3 of Jordan Forte. And then in row 10, also known as row 3 for GT3s, it's Alistair Ramsey in the Vantage and Jordan Biddle in the Mustang. Ian Nisbet, also in the Mustang, is going to be joining Franklin Stagink in row 11, with row 12 going to Graham Hefford and Craig Starkey in the McLaren 720S race car. Redo Hilal and Gary Barham are going to be your Porsche row. Row 13 is number 92s. And then Carl Whitehouse with Sebastian Borgerson is going to be row 14. Row 15 to comprise out our 30-car grid. It's Evangelos Cortis and Panagiotis Vasilopoulos in the Mustang and the Porsche. And there you go, folks. That is session about to get underway. We have an hour's race here in Monza. The track is about to go hot one more time for the World Sprint Championship. Everyone double file, everyone ready to go. Let's have a great race tonight and let's see the magic happen. Green flag Go, go, go. Immediately. Strong getaway from the likes of Bouquet trying to hold the center of the track, but it's going to be immediate attacks on the front end. It's 3 wide, potentially 4 for a split second. The 2 Ferraris lining up alongside the Gazoo Racing. That's going to be one of the Ferraris going very narrow. 2 of them, in fact, having to take to the escape road. That's Butsin and Patouche both having to weave around the foam barriers and having to merge in. And oh, that's a very dangerous merge. Trying to get around the other Ferrari, and in the heat of it, completely blocks. I believe that was Schlichting there, who was on a serious attack. Meanwhile, Bouquet has got a free run out of this, basically just capitalizing on the chaos, as many others are also looking to dice their way out. We're already seeing some splitting between the LMGT3s and the LMH cars, so hopefully there's a bit of peace as the cohorts don't mingle. Holstenius is going to be alongside Richard Cook there, so the Porsches are going to battle, make a bit of tap and a bit of contact as Holstenius off the track has to merge back in at Lesmo 2 as he's overtaken by a good chunk of the field. He's dropped all the way to last, fighting alongside Baldanini, barely able to keep it all together. Moving on, GT3 Starkey hunting on the back of Stejink, doing anything he can to try and really close that gap up. Starkey is hunting for the position. He's also having to play defensive. There's Byron breathing down his neck. We might see a little bit of chopping and changing, particularly at the sharp end of the field, as things get a little bit dicey. Here's Schlichting trying to make up for lost time. He's on the back of Nathan Perron as he goes on the defensive. Sweeps out to the outside, has a little bit of a slipstream that he can use to full advantage as he goes 320 kilometers an hour down the start-finish straight. A little bit of scraping, but nice exit there as Schlichting manages to get out through the first chicane. Curva Grande seals the move. Oh, Henrik de Vries. Cadillac v Lamborghini. A matchup that you wouldn't normally expect, but one that I am just as excited for as we see a bit of combat. Once again, Schlichting has been displaced back down by Nathan Perron. He's not had the luck that he was really hoping for. And unfortunately, he's going to have a bit more of his own challenge. Lettonen and Poor are meanwhile chasing and fighting each other. Poor has actually dropped down through the chicane, and Lettonen has managed to secure a move coming out of Curva Grande. If I take extended breaks, folks, that is because I am struggling with my throat at the moment. I do apologise, by the way. Just thought you should know. There's a little bit of extended break between segments. Starkey continuing to put pressure on Stejink. And the hypercars have mostly settled themselves out, but we do have... Well, let's look to the front. Never mind, we have a potential fight for the lead. Grossi on the back of Bouquet here. Curiously, we don't see Pacosi on the course. No Pacosi to be seen. And so this is going to be all right for the taking. Grossi goes on the inside, goes through into the chicane. There's a bit of wheel-to-wheel bumping. Has to be Bouquet taking off the track to retain the fight. Still holds the apex into Lesmo 1 and refuses to yield to Alessandro in the number 19. Rossi having, I think, squeezed a little bit there. Just wanting the move, but not quite having the chance to take it. We do unfortunately have a DNF already. That's going to be Jordan Biddle. So he is going to be sitting this one out. One of our earliest DNFs in the championship thus far, I believe. So hopefully that wasn't the result of any major incident. Well, a couple of 963s at the back. There's Baldanini and Olstenius. A little bit of gapping. And then meanwhile, we have Lettonen and Poor continuing their duel. Paul's trying to make up some time. He is actually bringing the deltas down and bringing the intervals down from the number 55 just ahead of him. But he isn't quite pushing as much as he maybe could on some of these corners. And now that the track is settled, you can see there's a full timing table. Do see a couple of local yellows coming out. Something has happened. Oh, looks like we just had a DNF from Vasilopoulos. I was going to switch over to them, but just as I went to switch over, they went and DNF'd off of the track. So, wonder if there was anything to do with that. Of course, anyone in the live chat who's tapped in to race chats or in the Discord server, feel free to chime in there. Willy Schlitting not content with just overtaking Perron. He's now going to be challenging on Hendrik de Vries. Around side by side through Parabolica. Really pushing those boundaries there. Arcing it all the way on the outside. Maximizes the speed. You have Perron, who's managing to get a bit of a slipstream out of this, but is he going to engage? He's going to go sweeping past Hendrik. He's going to get a little bit boxed in here as Schlitting is effectively holding 2 cars back now. Well executed overtake. Well done to the number 51. Quite a well-executed overtake. And Perron manages to capitalise as well. Pushes himself up into 7th. Meanwhile, we have Alistair Ramsey, who is currently on the pursuit of a podium position. There's Forte right in front of him. And so it's ripe for opportunity. We also have Port and Lettinen getting quite close on the track here. So getting up to the back of him, peels to the left. Will there be a challenge through the chicane? They both jump on the brakes. Port is just about getting the nose ahead, but there comes Lettinen into each other's sides briefly for a moment, squeezing right to the edge of the course as both of them head into Curva Grande, still side by side all the way. Lettinen has the inside, but Poor can get a little bit more speed and, most importantly, will have the apex heading into this left-hander. They go racing each other through there. A little bit of skipping on the chicane. There's going to be Lettinen yielding. I think he messed up his approach a little bit, and that's going to open the door wide as Forte is now on the outside of him. Lesmo 1. And curiously, we only have one car in the hypers that is less than half a second away, and that's going to be Mika Patush on the back of Bellucci. I think those two will potentially be a source of drama in a couple of laps' time. Let's see who goes. Alistair Ramsey. Unfortunate to see some drivers who have already DNF'd. Hopefully we'll get a bit of insight on that towards the end of the race. In worst case scenario, you know, you can always catch our stewarding content on the YouTube channel as well, which we host both as a bid to drive a bit of content on the channel and also be transparent. We want to be an open book here. We want to be transparent here at GRDC with how we run things, how we do things, reasoning behind it all. So if you are ever curious about the stewarding, then of course do jump in and check that out. We We'll have a quick look at some of the stewarding from the previous race while we have a crucial moment to breathe and check in with Patush, who's got very close to the back of Malucci by this point. Most importantly, say Mark Ferdinand Kerner having gotten 8 penalty points from the previous race for getting into an incident in turn 1, lap 1, and then failing to follow damage limitation procedure. That is why they are not joining us on the track today. That's why they'll be serving a race ban today, as they accrued 8 penalty points in a single race. And it is worth noting as well, folks, that if you reach 10 license points, then you are at risk of being removed from the championship for the remainder of the season, as outlined in the rules. So you've got to keep your nose clean. You might accidentally pick up a penalty point here and there, and that is fine. That's why you got 10 of them. But when you have severe compound incidents, it can put you at serious risk. You've got to work to keep that nose clean. So hopefully we don't see any of those shenanigans out here tonight. And we are now starting to see some of the LMH cars encounter GT3 traffic, and this is going to shift the dynamics of the circuit, as now we have Schlichting and Butsin going side by side into the first chicane, almost leveraging the GT3s that are around them. But in the same way, Schlichting is going to attack and get by Butsin, but that Mustang, if it was just a little bit closer, could have immediately flipped the battle back, could have stopped him from going anywhere. Patush just up ahead, trying to find his own pocket of the course by the sounds of things, and use the GT3s as a bit of a buffer. Rossi is going to be a fair bit further down and quickly scything through traffic in order to reunite with the front order. They are, in fact, I think, passing some of the, or were passing some of the leaders. Yeah, you can see there is Lettonen and Poor just ahead, so good chunk of the LMH cars now coming up to the leaders of GT3 and officially lapping them for the first time. With our GT3s, though, here comes Jordan Forte, fighting for 4th, knees bet on the defense. That Mustang does like to have a little bit of sort of frontward roll by the looks of it, scraping that outer edge of the splitter. Almost called it a diffuser for a second there. I was like, that's not right. Here comes 40, sniffing the splitter of the Mustang, but quickly darting to the right side. Does he commit to a move, though? That is the question. Doesn't look like it. We are seeing some cars pitting in as well, so the hypercar of Borgso has headed into the pits. There's also Alistair Ramsey, who is heading into the pit lane too. Interesting strategic choice there from the Vantage. Curious to see how that one plays out. Here comes Starkey, challenging and failing to commit 100% to the attack on Uhilal. The wrong place. Wrong place, wrong time, unfortunately. Not able to really commit and stick that move. Ramsey in the box. We see them come out. Not sure. Is that their wing missing? Have they missed their wing? Have they got into a contact? I do hope not. Hope they haven't had too many issues on the course. Just checking around the field for a moment. And one thing I immediately notice is that Perron has actually done rather well here. Now, some may be thinking that he's been overtaken a few times. How has he done well? But he's actually kept it fairly clean. He has just had a bit of a slide there, but he's not bowing to that pressure. He is not bowing to that pressure whatsoever. And it is going to remain committed to keeping that proximity. Which is arguably the most important thing right now. He doesn't really want to challenge forward because that might serve to mess him up in his later strategy. So priority here, just keep it clean, keep it pushing forward. And as of right now, don't engage so much as just close down time gaps. Hopefully on the broadcast I don't sound too much like I've swallowed an orange, but that's how it sounds like to me right now. Here we go, here comes Patush closing in on Bellucci. Yeah, that's the number 63. Yeah, let's take a little bit of an onboard moment with him. Just trying to close his gap as much as he can right now. You can see the way he commits through some of these corners. He has to tuck out a little bit of the slipstream, particularly through the apexes. Notice how he's maybe keeping half the car in, but not fully in the wake of the SC63. And that's one for cooling, but also two, that does serve to keep him gripped up on the inside surface of his aero. Now, I don't know the fidelity of the simulation here in LMU, but I do know that deliberately placing your car partially in the slipstream of another can sometimes help with balancing out your drag with your turn in. Oh, there's contact, and oh, there's a bit of a squabble going between those two. Not looking very friendly there. Bellucci is going to quickly sweep past. I think Patush yielded there as a bit of a self-administered stewarding moment. Comes back onto the track, but doesn't push 100%. Allows Bellucci to go back through. Patush still in third. Hopefully not too much in the way of damaged pride or damaged car. Because that's the last thing he needs right now, with a challenge like this. The LMGT3s, his Starkey, chased down and actually managed to overtake John 40 here. So now he's on the back of Reda Uhila. Currently sat in P7 for his group. P6 potentially on the horizon if he can nail these next few corners. So Starkey on the tail. Very close to the back of Reda. The Redas themselves got their own fighters. Graham Hefford in the Mustang just up ahead. Not feeling content with one battle, they got two going. We're between a rock and a hard place. Except both of them have got V8s. It's a flat 6 in a V8's world at this point in time. But Uhila looks composed. So hopefully that number 92 will come out strong. He's put up a very good fight. Here goes to the inside very briefly, almost just a tease. And a bit of a wobble on the exit of Lesmo 2 is going to disintegrate that advantage. And in fact, Starkey is going to capitalise and quickly sweep around. So nicely done there from the McLaren to make the most of the chance.
He is going to be continuing his charge. And he is walked very close, but did lose a bit of time there through the Ascari chicane. Okay, we've got to have a mass exodus into the pits. Okay, Boldanini coming out just as a couple of the GT3s are coming in. And if we look to the front, is going to be Bouquet and Bellucci both. Many of the hypercars all going in at once. Forte on the back of Uhilal right now. As many cars have headed into the pits. Stejink, Heppard and Starkey are going to be joining those hypercars we just mentioned. Paul Garnham is into the pit lane also. Henrik de Vries, Maxwell Stenius. Are we going to see Dan Wilson head in? Yes, we are. Philip Schleeting coming out of Ascari. Means plenty of change-ups, as we will now have the last few cars heading in. There goes Bouquet. Gianluca Bellucci just behind. Both of them are going to exit out of the pit lane in a quick succession. See Bellucci already riding the coattails. Now Robert Poor is going to be pitting in, and Timmy Lettonen is going to do the same. Moffat, Niesbet maybe? Yes, so everyone's going into the pits at roughly the same time. Ooh, we even have a little bit of a challenge as Gary Barham and Carl Whitehouse have a bit of a coming together. Last minute changeover before heading into the pit lane. So here we goes Patouche. On the back of De Vries. De Vries makes a mistake out of the chicane and into Lesmo 1. Here comes the Ferrari. The number 51 sweeps it through the apex. Nice and elegantly executed into Lesmo 2 to lock it in. Good composure. Mika 51 now into P6. The gap between Bouquet and Bellucci is 1.6 seconds, but that does seem to be rising and falling at a fairly stable rate. It's fluctuating right now. Question is, who's going to be more committed? When it comes to crunch time, when those two leaders come together, who is going to be more committed to this? More willing to push the car where it need not normally go. So here comes Uhilal in the mix. Many cars are actually quite spaced out. We've got a couple of seconds between each car on average. Forte is currently looking like a thorn in Moffat's side as he's closing in on P5. We're currently 25 minutes into this race, folks, and things are looking pretty hot. We've had so far in the lead, we have Bouquet, Bellucci and Schleeting for Hypercar, and then in the podium spots for the LMGT3s, it's going to be Robert Poor retaking, is a dominant position. And then following that, you have Timi Letonen in second place. Actually, quite a distance behind. Wonder if Boa hasn't done all the same things strategy-wise as the others. And then Ian Nisbet in the Mustang in third place. We also have some other standout highlights like Starkey, who's been slowly moving his way up the grid. Upward and downward moves alike. A little bit of sand and gravel being kicked up by a couple of races ahead. And Bellucci has actually reined in Bouquet's lead within a second. This could get interesting, folks. About the halfway point of the race. This could get very spicy indeed. Well, we do have a Barham with a DNF, however. Gary Barham. Not really sure what the story is there. I'm not very used to say, well, very clever. The hard-end broadcast tools for LMU are lacking a bit of that back-end source. I love my data. I love my figures. And it doesn't quite have that to be able to report, especially on incidents when they happen. Doesn't quite have that there. So as to my knowledge, not having the same kind of tools to allow for instant replays, and those other elements. Regardless of that now, the main thing is that we are coming up to half an hour, halfway point. And we want to see how these drivers are feeling, how these drivers are doing as they progress through Monza at a steady rate. A steady, smooth rate. And steady is the name of the game at this stage, because you cannot afford costly mistakes. You will drop your car, and you will potentially harm other people's races. I often say that it's not so much the incident that affects everything. It's the surroundings of the incident. So it's the surrounding chaos, the surrounding avoiding action, which concertinas into more incidents. The breaking of the mental focus, having to deal with someone's spun out on track. And it's never a good time. The last minute sweep. As we now come to the halfway. We do unfortunately have Gary Barham, Vasilopoulos and Biddle, who have outright left the racing session, who have unfortunately not been able to make it to the end. See, oh, a mistake there from Borgso could open the door. Richard Cook's hot on the heels. Unfortunately, it won't let me face forward on the camera angle. Oh, a bit of an out wide extension for the A524. Borgso is going to have to relinquish the position, and he does. Not great looking there from Remy. It's a bit of rough form. Hopefully form that he can get control over.
So let's take our grid as a run through. Bouquet leads and actually has 4.4 seconds on Gianluca Bellucci, so I think a mistake was made in the lap prior. Splitting is in third with Perron in fourth. Alessandro Grossi, Mika Patush, Henrik de Vries, Marvin Butzin, Paul Garnham, and Max Holstenius make your 10 for Hypercar. P11 to 14 is going to be held by Richard Cook, Remy Alexander Borgso, Matteo Baldinini, and Dan Wilson. But before we head on to the GT3s, this is where we ask you in the chat. We're about halfway through the race. Let us know what you're feeling about this race so far, who you're rooting for, and also on the broadcast front, what you want to see from us here at GRDC. Want to evolve and change the format, particularly around certain elements, likes or dislikes. All feedback's always appreciated. Here we go. There's going to be Borgso with a nice move just heading into Parabolica. Will there be any retaliatory action from Richard? You see, he's just keeping it clean and keeping it simple. But oh no, there's going to be contact there as a Borgso is unfortunately going to make a crucial mistake. That's almost in slow motion. I didn't really know how to react to that. All of a sudden, you look and you just see Borgso slowly skating over the sausage curbs. Maybe he over-predicted the steering angles, or just took it in a little bit too hot. Borgso, Baldinini, Wilson. They gotta just lock it in right now. Dan Wilson is an entire lap behind. 92 seconds away from Baldinini. He's got to pick up that pace. And I hope that there is some kind of event to even the tides. There's Alessandro Grossi on Mika Patush. Trying to chase for a position. This is going to be for P5. Lamborghini running very aggressive lines. I wonder how well that thing can take curbs. It looks like it keeps quite composed. Doesn't seem fairly phased by going over curbs and undulations in the racing surface. The hypercars actually working together, albeit briefly, to get past traffic and get back to racing. And Butzin on the defense. De Vries has to brake a little bit because that was going to be his targeted line. However, got closed off at the last second. Hendrick v Marvin. Butzin v De Vries. Also have a little bit of a fight of our own further up ahead. Perron, Grossi, Patush all together. They're coming out of nowhere. Suddenly deciding today is the day we will bless your racetrack with combat. Stick on board with Grossi, someone right in the middle of this whole ordeal. As he's got Perron hot on his heels, he's got Patush just up ahead. How's he going to play this? Or more accurately, is Grossi an aggressive driver? Because that will dictate his next few laps. His approach to them, at least. Here's Grossi very close to the back. He's actually going to go for it here. So Perron was breathing down the neck, but Grossi's not going to be waiting any longer. The trio reunites heading into
Parabolica and heading into the next lap here. Grossi right tight to the tail. Patush is trying to play this as defensively as he can, but here comes Grossi even further on the inside, goes one better. Patush right to the racing surface edge. Grossi back onto the outside, then jumps on the brakes just a little bit later. He outbrakes himself a little bit, and as well as the Ferrari has to both take them to the escape road. And oh no, it brakes on track in front of Perron, causes an incident trying to yield the spot. Brutal scenario. You can see exactly what they were trying to do as well. You had Patush and Grossi both trying to effectively self-RC. They were trying to yield the position, and oh no, back goes to worse. That's a spin for Grossi as Butzin has the nose on the apex. It's not gone well. Grossi is well into the gravel. Quickly has to recover and get himself back on his feet. Back up, there you go, buddy. Get back racing. See, Patush, despite all of that, I think recovered and is actually ahead of Nathan Perron. Very, very tetchy situation, and just like that, shows how quickly, folks, it shows how quickly these situations can blow up in your face and how being unpredictable is more dangerous than anything else. I don't think that Perron would be expected to predict his opponent brake checking him, basically. Because that's at least what it looked like externally. He was trying to yield the position as Grossi was doing so as well, but Grossi was off the racing line. That's the difference, I think. And Perron had nowhere to go. With both of them braking on track, you effectively formed a rolling roadblock. Major drama on this track. Scary stuff. To the GT3s. Moffitt is trying to close in a little bit of a gap to Nisbet, and then up and down the field you have multiple second gaps. You've got 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 16, 12. A lot of the GT3s have spaced out, and I think that is in part to do with traffic. Just having the LMHs constantly knock on your door and trying to get by you. Not an easy thing to deal with. We are coming up to some of the GT3 traffic and hypercars converging. Moffitt is going to be getting a position up as Poor has headed into the pits. Craig Starkey is going to do the same. Alistair Ramsey already in the box and jacking himself up. You see those air jets quickly shooting to compress and release the car. On a technical level, you can call it anti-grav technology. Even if it is just 4 pistons pushing the car up into the air. You will now have a question mark around how the drivers are managing their energy. Too much push, you will be in some serious trouble. Energy management, a lift and coast, a little bit of care. Additional care could go a long way.
Oh, but here comes, there's one of the Lamborghinis, and what's parting of the sea there. That looked a little bit risky. I believe that was Grossi. Yes, that was. An SC63 on a mission here. Driven, I'm not sure by... Oh, no! What was that? Pit entry. Well, basically, he sort of forces Nisbet to go on a rotate. Grossi is going to crash out into the pits, metaphorically and literally. Now DNFing. Nisbet actually was looking at having to get around him there. That, unfortunately, did mean he hit the wall. Hopefully he hasn't got damage from that, because that would be a royal insult. I would certainly be frustrated in his position. I'd feel shortchanged. I'd be cheated. Mildly miffed. So, the track has somewhat settled. Key takeaways. Perron is persistent. He is the personification of persistence on this track. As you see there, Schlichting heading into the pits. He's going to inherit himself a nice P3. But he's absolutely rapid. He's absolutely on it. He is committed. He's coming to the back of Starkey in the McLaren right now. Everyone at this point has spaced themselves out on the grid. Grossi is, of course, going to be dropping down to the bottom. Eventually will clear from the standings. But it is a quote-unquote true standing, so has to wait and to be overtaken by the relative positions before he gets removed from that part and pushed down into 27th as where he should be, right down on the order. It's our only, first and hopefully only, retiree from the hypercar realm. We haven't exactly got many of them to go around. Neither have we got many to go around for the LM GT3s. We've already had 3 retirements from them. Let's keep the upper limit at 3. There's going to be butts in on the back of Nathan Perron. But look at the front. As you can see, Bouquet and Bellucci have both headed into the pit. And this is also going to spell a strategic change for Perron and Butsin. De Vries is going to follow suit. Holstenius most likely going to be keeping in form with the others. I think these drivers have more or less optimized to a T. They have optimized their strategy. Here comes Paul Garnham, as Lettonen is in the pit lane too. Robert Poor had taken a lap or a pit stop much earlier, so he has got a bit of an advantage. In this case, he will be effectively undercutting his competition as he quickly sweeps his way down. Headed into Parabolica, eyes are on him. He's taking a moment on the onboard to see what kind of speeds he's pushing. It's almost scary that despite these being purpose-built racing machines, it can sometimes look almost pedestrian, especially when you look at the GT3s compared to the Hypers. They can look like they're sitting still in some cases in the track when being overtaken. In the same light, these GT3s can be mightily rapid, even if looks can be deceiving. And fundamentally, the GT3s have a much more restrictive rule set, much more prescribed rule set, particularly with how the cars are built. So you can't exactly paint them with the same paintbrush. We are Moffat heading into the pits and is now going to start, well, he's going to be the start of pushing Grossi down into 27th on the board, meaning that we will have that slot regained on our timesheet. See, is there Uhilal is actually defending it from Alistair Ramsey. Ramsey is a lap down, it's worth noting, folks. So, not in the same field. It's not in the same park. Even so, these two are going to be challenging and putting some pressure on one another. 40 in the pits too. Lettonen having gone in a lap earlier. Back out here. As Heron is going to make a swift overtake. Oh, wait, what's that? That is Dan Wilson, folks, in the wall on the first chicane. Having to take to the escapes. Or rejoining in Curva Grande. I wonder if he outbraked himself or, well, I wonder what happened. So to recap, folks, we have had 3 retirees from LMGT3, 1 retiree from LMH. We have 12 minutes on the board. So far, Uhilal leads the pack. But they will soon be heading into the pits, and when they do, it will be Robert Poor and Timi Lettonen who are the cars on top for the session. You also have in the hypercar realm, you have Matteo Bouquet currently slicing their way past one of the GT3 cars. Going to be closely followed by Gianluca Bellucci, who's just in fact heading through Lesmo 1. And Philip Schlichting, who's a few seconds away in the Ferrari. Tushan puts in another 2 cars who are actually pretty close together. Here we go, jumping on board with Patush for a moment. As he's trying to close this gap, he's trying to chase down to Marvin. Trying to close that gap. It's not quite happening for him, actually. Patush is actually losing time. Not looking good for him out there. He hopefully can get a bit of a grip back up soon, and if his tyres maybe are cold or... oh, I can't really say what's happening. Meanwhile, Starkey chasing the BMW again. This time that BMW is going to be in the possession of Franklin Staging. Let's see what happens here. There's going to be one of the LMHs potentially upsetting this field.
Through the chicane. A little bit of wobbles. You got the 963 also breathing down his neck. I believe that is Richard Cook. He's going quite narrow. You just try and get around the traffic. Goes Starkey into the Ascari chicane. I think that's Bouquet behind. Yeah, that is Bouquet. He's going to be sweeping through. He's down in P5 right now. I wonder what's going on with him there. And Luca Bellucci has opted to take a quick and easy lead. 7.5 seconds away from Philip Schlichting. Jose Bellucci on the hunt. That's going to be in the Lamborghini, the number 63. Now, this driver has been certainly a force to be reckoned with throughout this season of WSC. Coach Dave Delta. And it's kind of scary, the pace that he can extract from that Lambo on his day. Now, granted, his best time isn't actually quite that high up. It's a 36.2, which cannot really touch Hattush's best of a 35.5. Even with that in mind, though, there's a reason he's currently looking extremely strong and one of the drivers to potentially take the championship out. It's going to be Borgso actually in the pits, so I think there might be another DNF, unfortunately. They're in the pit lane, they're in the pit wall. Lots of different Ferraris out here. Minutes 48 seconds and counting. Who's going to be the driver to next make a move? Will they dare to be as aggressive as that, or are they going to simply hold firm to their spots? This is an odd one when it comes to racing psychology as well, when deciding to go for a move or not, or committing to a position versus going on the attack. I've always found this quite curious. On the one hand, I see why drivers would want to go forward harder and harder and harder and continue their upwards drive. However, of course, that does leave them open to risks. That does leave them open to mistakes, to combat, which can lose them more time than they gain. I also see the benefit of holding your position, staying back, not getting drawn in by temptation to fight. However, you are just doing that. You are resigning yourself to a position when you're capable, potentially, of more. Either way, there's going to be one of the Lamborghinis who is just tailing alongside. That is going to be Gianluca Bellucci coming out the chicane. And there you go. That's how you handle traffic right there, folks. You don't attack into the chicane. You boost out of it. You know where the GT3s are going to be. You know that you can trust them somewhat to be predictable, and they're not going to give you any trouble. So this is going to be Graham Hefford on the back of Evangelos Cortis. Two of them, the Mustangs, dueling. Try and see who is worthy of that 10th position.
one of Ferrari's. Simple, effective move. Graham Hefford continues to be a thorn in the side of Cortis in the 88. Now heading into Parabolica. Oh, quickly jinx it to one side. Not going to go for the attack here, but tucking in behind. Going to be another one of the Ferraris quickly passing by. Again, coming out of Parabolica with significant speed. But didn't quite get the exit he wanted by comparison, so he's actually tailing quite significantly from Cortis. I'm trying to say Hefford and Cortis at the same time. Would not have gone well, let me tell you. Hefford still has a chance. He's got about a lap and a half in time. Whereas the hypercars, by comparison, would have 2 and a bit. It's a difficult contrast. We go Bouquet had a strong lead for a good chunk of the race, but now is down in P5, so I'm not really sure what happened there to him. Whether there was a strategic move that has gone awry, or maybe he made a serious mistake that put himself off track. We'll have to, of course, speculate on that as appropriate. A lot of drivers now splitting themselves away from each other. Borgso has fully retired from the session. Today is our 5th retiree, and is going to bring us down to 12 hypercars. Fortunately for drivers, but unfortunately for us, particularly hypercar, everyone's spaced. Everyone's got at minimum 2 seconds for the next car. Bouquet's the only one who's remotely close. But everyone else, you're talking 5 seconds, 9 seconds, 18, 54. There's a big, big separation. The hypercars are quite displaced around the course. On board with last couple of minutes. Oh, red flag has been called. Red flag. Yellow flag has been called. Richard Cook last minute into the pits. Something has happened. We're trying to get a track exactly on what just happened. Okay, Borgerson getting handed with a penalty. Again, trying to get a bit of a trace on reasoning. Hefford using that last minute to the very fullest. He wants that position. He wants that last minute dart. Bouquet is going to be in a similar spot. He's on the back of Patouche. He could have something here, and he could make this happen. He goes side by side into the start-finish straight, down into turn 1, has clear advantage in the Toyota. A solid move means that the number 7 will now be in position 4, and hopefully he holds that till the end. Our last couple of corners here of the race, and as the timer ticks to 0 and the last drivers go for fight, says Hefford actually backing out of the fight with Cortis despite being alongside. Coming up to the line, Gianluca Bellucci for Hypercar has been once again proven a formidable talent and a
bona fide, excellent opponent. Coming up to through Parabolica and out again. The number 63 Lamborghini is your winner for the hypercars. Across the line and immaculately driven. Meanwhile, in the LMGT3, you have Robert Poor, who has led with a strong example out of the qualifying. Now in the race, continue to show that fine form. Alluding to now where as he head through the Ascari chicane. Oh, unfortunately we have a Holstenius with a last second DNF, it looks like. So we'll have to maybe inquire on what happened there. Now we will unfortunately, due to internal and time constraints, only really have time to interview the winners of each segment. So we'll have Bellucci and Poor in for interview, hopefully, if all goes to plan. See where that takes us. There you go, there is Robert Poor now through. And the winner of LMGT3. There you go, everyone crossing the line now, completing their sessions and absolutely showing themselves to be top tier. Great racing on all fronts. Here you go, last few cars coming through. Is Porsche v Porsche. There's going to be Cook just tucking in behind. A little bit of a nip and tuck. And just a snip in the back before out of Parabolica, just powering out and powering through. Here we go, folks. That is gonna do it for the most part. That is pretty much everyone back in the pits. And that is time. So let's have a look at the results. Let's see it all for ourselves. Bellucci is our win with Schlichting and Butzin in second and third. Bouquet, Patouche, De Vries, Perron, Garnham, Holstenius, Boldanini make your top 10. Closely followed by Cook and Wilson to round off the hypercar category. LMGT3 is going to go to Robert Poor with Timmy Lettinen and Daniel Moffat in second and third. Jordan Forte, Ian Nisbet, Craig Starkey, Redo Hilal, Carl Whitehouse completes into 20. And then you have Franklin Stejink, Graham Hefford, Alistair Ramsey, Evangelos Cortis, Bastian Borgerson to finish. Borgso, Grossi, Barham, Vasilopoulos and Biddle unfortunately not completing the session, not completing the race, but will still be drivers who have put in a good effort. Unfortunately, they're just not quite making it this time out. Now, we will hopefully get a bit of interviewees, or a couple of visitors. Let's just ping them now. So, Bellucci, and we'll see if we can get Robert Poor in as well. Let's see if they are both going to be joining us. Interviews. So I'll just do a little bit of priming. And we will see if those two are willing to jump in. Go. Getting a couple of minutes for drivers. So I think first off, unfortunately, I still can't drag people. So let's just see. Starkey. Drag it from. I have to jump over there as well. I have to jump over there just quickly and maybe have a chat to them sort of one by one in the same VC rather than bringing people back and forth. So first
Oh, here we go. All right, everyone, welcome, welcome. Now, we do have all of you in the box together. Looks like Craig has just dragged you over on mass. So I'm going to have a chance to talk to Bellucci first out of the gate. Then Robert will go to you. And then Timmy will also have a chat as well, seeing as you jumped in the room and you are here. We'll make sure we get a chance to chat to everyone. So, Bellucci, we're going to start with you, mate. So, good results, great race out there, and of course, sort of winning results in a continued streak, it looks like, for the hypercars. So tell me, how are you feeling at the moment?
Yeah, it was a tough race, honestly. Difficult laps qualifying. I don't feel very well in the car, but yeah, it was a really good race, a good strategy race.
Yeah, I mean, did you have any particular expectations coming into Monza?
Expectations were very low because I didn't have much time to practice. So I was really it was really difficult for me to find the right setups. So it was really tough race from my side, but yeah, the result is here, so I'm happy for that.
I mean, you say it was a tough one, but they still did, of course, come out on top. I mean, would you put that down to anything in particular? Like, if you had to describe why you won today, or is it kind of tougher to define why, in your view?
I think I made the right choices, but with the strategy, I did quite a lifted cost on the first and the second stint, and I could do an extra lap. So I think that's the key.
Well, it certainly paid out in your favour, and I'm certainly very impressed with how tonight went for you. I mean, wider championship-wise, I'm just looking and taking a little bit of a sneak peek at the standings. So currently sat in second, but with that being said as well, you have got another really strong result. It's a double win for you. Of course, got the round last time and now here. So is a championship win potentially on the cards for you, Bellucci, is my question to you.
It's really tough because my mate Vakosi is a really fast guy, so it's really difficult. But yeah, the race is on, so let's see.
Yeah, let's see. Well, you say you two have sort of continued to push each other forward. I know you do sort of run together, and that is pretty awesome to see. But anyway, that is going to do it. Questions from me. Great result out there tonight, and seriously impressed. So well done.
Thank you.
Okay, Robert, you are up next, and as the winner of LMGT3, how are you feeling coming out of that one?
Yes, it was tough with all the curbs, and you have to ride the curbs to be fast here. So it was really tough, and I wasn't sure if I'm on the right strategy because I did the opposite of Timmy, and I did the short stint in the middle, and I knew I needed fresh tires because I tried it in practice to do it on one set, and it wasn't really possible, and I really struggled to do only one side, left sides only, or fronts only. So I knew I had to go for all four, and to keep myself out of traffic, I tried to do two stints, the one long and one short, and then change tires. And yeah, that worked out perfectly, I have to say.
Yeah, I'd certainly say they worked out quite well. I mean, so strategy seems to be a core part here at Monza. I mean, one little thing I did want to ask is you came out really strong in quali. That sort of form continued into the race. Was Monza a track that you were particularly confident going in, or was this a bit of a surprise for you?
It was actually a surprise because I was quite slow at Monza in ACC, and I've never done Monza in the GT3 before in LMU. So so it was a bit of a surprise. But I jumped on track last week on Thursday, one day after the Bahrain race, and it felt quick from the beginning, and I could really do like aggressive setups. Just had to be careful in the Lesmos curves to not get too much oversteer there, but otherwise it just clicked from the beginning. And in qualifying, I messed up one lap with a delta of 49.6, so I could have even be 2 tenths faster. But yeah, I was happy, and I was just watching the timing sheet when Timmy was on his last lap and just 1/10 behind me.
I mean, I gotta say that's kind of scary. Like the thought that you go like even faster, potentially, that is certainly a sobering thought. But I did see like you did go there with the GT3 challenge, and you also came out on top there. So you kind of had a practice round under your belt already by that point. Either way, great execution. No more sort of notes from me. Just a job very well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my secret weapon to have the practice round on Monday, but that's done now. So from now on, I lose that opportunity. The GT3 challenge is finished. But yeah,
let's see how you stack your cards. Let's see how you stack your cards, because you've still got a championship ahead. You're looking very strong right now, but say no GT3 challenge anymore.
Yeah, we'll see. And I must say, I'm doing one personal best after the other, with Timmy challenging me. So I really have to put in time to practice. But yeah, I'm thankful for that actually, because I'm getting better and better, and I'm enjoying it very much. And we had 2 fights, and it was very clean. And I want to say the hypercars, at least for me, they were really clean and very good overtaking from them. So it felt good today. I was a little bit down after last week, after some dive bombs, but this week, yeah, we are really well done to everyone.
Yeah, and that does neatly bring us into talking to Timmy. I mean, Robert, I say thank you once again, and a great performance out there on track. So, Timmy, let's switch things over to you now. Of course, great result from yourself. Came out in second place, and as they were fighting right at the sharp end with Robert all the way through. So, how are you feeling at coming out of that round with a second place under your belt?
Fine. I mean, yeah, the whole race was kind of out of rhythm for me. Like Robert said, you really need to nail every point and use the curbs and all that. And once I did a couple mistakes, there was more afterwards. So it was a bit, yeah. And on the start, I thought I should go a bit more aggressive and overtook Robert, but then I noticed or remembered that he likes to save his energy, so I was like, maybe I should start fighting him a little bit, bring him back or something, but it went a bit wrong. And yeah, I don't know, it was a bit messy race overall. I mean, yeah, last week I was in a lot of a better rhythm, let's say. So yeah, it was okay. P2, I'm still happy, but yeah, there could have been more on the table, I think.
Would you say that that's something quite important to you, is like having that sort of mental focus and feeling like everything's in the right place when it comes to you putting on your driving performances, as we saw today?
Yeah, I think once I really get into that rhythm and fully focused, then there's no mistakes. But like today, it was kind of hard to get there and get the good lap times and so on.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly had the pace. I mean, you wouldn't have got P2 without it. But it's interesting to hear, because every driver, I think, has a different approach to how they find their flow. They get into a bit of that flow state and really start to sort of hammer in those laps. Was there anything in particular that sort of upset that? I believe you mentioned like riding the curbs a little bit, say upon Robert's advice. Was there any particular thing though that sort of upset that focus from happening today?
Not really. I mean, I think the whole race was a bit of a weird one. The first time when the rhythm was kind of upset was when I was fighting with Robert, and lost some time there and started defending, and then I couldn't quite get back up the pace. And then I thought I need to gain some time quickly, so I didn't change tires. And I thought Robert would change tires and do full tank so I could get back in front and then defend until people would catch up and something like that. But it didn't happen, so again I was a bit off put by that. And yeah, by the end I was just driving and hoping that there would be another lap, because I saw Robert's energy was getting a bit low.
I would say using that sort of intel to your advantage. I mean, either way, it was a great race. Say solid points under your belt, sort of puts you closer to that sort of fabled P2 spot, and potentially at the sharp end of the championship. One thing I will ask before I let you go is, in terms of the rest of the season, I think you say next week we are going to have another attempt at Fuji, but with the remaining rounds, so we have Imola, we have Le Mans, Algarve, Kota, followed by Sebring. Any of those tracks stick out to you, either for a good or a bad reason?
Not really. I mean, Monza is quite a different track to drive on. You really need to nail your points, and you can lose a lot of time by just, having a snap of oversteer on the exit or whatever, running a bit wide. So it's really different to every other track. I feel like I can do a bit better job, but there's some tracks I've driven more on, some tracks less. But yeah, like Robert said, I don't really know if it comes from. Yeah, I mean, I've done Monza a lot in ACC and done like as a rogue qualies there and stuff like that, but I don't really see that it's coming over to LMU, so I can't really say. I've done so many laps on all of the tracks on ACC, but not here, so I don't know. We'll see.
Well, either way, one thing that I am looking forward to seeing the rest of the championship is how all three of you get on. So thank you very much to all three of you for joining us for the interviews today. Hope you have a nice evening, and we'll maybe see you guys back in here for, well, technically round 3, but back in Fuji anyway.
Yeah, see you next week.
Thank you. See you next week. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you very much, guys. I'm going to jump out now. And with that is where we are going to end things off, folks. So as mentioned, we are going to be having a second attempt at round 3 next time. So we will be returning to Fuji. We're going to give it another shot, and we will be seeing if we are able to actually connect up and have the race as intended this time. So, of course, same time next week is going to be. Make sure that you are there for it, because you will not want to miss it, and you will certainly have quite a fun surprise in store. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and we will see you next time. Good night, everyone. Have a good evening or day, wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.